But the point is, when you're a team on, especially something like an aircraft carrier, where you're launching and recovering aircraft, you're moving munitions around, you're moving fuel around. Everything is a carefully choreographed operation, and you need discipline. You need to be focused. You need to be locked in. The last thing you need is some guy crying about a Dear John letter or complaining because I didn't get to eat all the beans and bacon I wanted to eat last night, or the ice cream machine was off, or the toilet smells like it's been used about 1 month longer than it was programmed to be used. And next, a mistake is made. We get an aircraft crash, a pilot dies. A munitions mishandled, which we saw in Vietnam, blows up, the ship sinks. These guys got to be locked in. They got to be focused, and they can't be if they don't understand the mission. They don't believe in the mission, and they can't understand the mission that has been adequately briefed to them. And I think this is the problem, and including the families. The fact that families are communicating and talking back implies there's confusion amongst everybody. The totality of the team is confused. And you just defined this war in a nutshell. Confusion, no teamwork. Hell, the president and the secretary of defense can't even get on the same page when it comes to why we don't have enough munitions.
Yeah. Which to that end, Scott, I'll just pull this up again because I think it's worth reviewing. This is Trump's response to the Washington Post article about not the Washington Post article, but all of the reports that have come out about munitions shortages. The leakers of these treasonous statements are being hunted down. Long-term jail sentences will be sought. And these are the shortages that he's commenting on. 80% of THAAD interceptors, half of Patriot interceptors gone. This is just, Scott, since February 28th.
You understand the small print. You got to read the small print. It says the top two variants. Okay, that's the PAC-3, and that's the PAC-2, whatever GMT you want to put on it. Now, why don't we be honest, Mr. President? How many PAC-3s remain? Because that's the only one capable of shooting down a ballistic missile. The GMT can't shoot down anything the Russians bring to bear. So he says that, we got 1,100 left, but that's the two most modernized variants. I would say that 80% of that number are the PAC-2 modernized variant that can't shoot down a missile. Not a modern missile. So there's probably 150 PAC-3s remaining of that number, maybe 200. This is why when Ukraine said, Mr. President, give us 300 PAC-3s, the president said, no, we don't have any. We don't have any. This is the proof positive. We literally don't have any. And look at the number of THAADs. So we're down to, 90 left. That's it's crazy.
And they're blind because all those radars have been destroyed in all of the U.S. bases, at least in the theater of the Iran war. Now,
the good news is those radars, they're not expensive and they're not unique items. We can mass produce them rapidly because they're not some of the most complicated technology available in the United States. I'm lying. They're some of the most complicated technology available in the United States. We can't produce them rapidly. And when you lose a THAAD system, you lose a THAAD system. It's not as though we go, hey, ring me up another one, buddy. Nope. They ain't on the shelf.
They're not talking about it either. That's for sure. There's no comments coming from Trump or anyone else, Pete Hegseth, about that. But this is his direct response today as we were speaking to the Washington Post piece about him and Pete Hegseth clashing heads at Camp David recently about these munition shortages. He said, the fake news as usual is spreading false and completely unfounded rumors. I'm extremely happy with the job Pete Hegseth is doing. Everything has been extraordinary, including our attack on Venezuela, where the result was accomplished in less than 1 day, allowing us to bring the worst criminals anywhere in the world, Nicolas Maduro, to justice. Likewise, Iran, where the country has been decimated for the purpose of not allowing it to have a nuclear weapon, is going very well. Pete is highly respected within the military and has made tremendous improvements, including getting rid of DEI and increasing recruitment to historic levels. The rumor was started by the Washington Compost, one of the media outlets in the business, worst media outlets in the business. Despite our telling, their story is completely false. In actuality, I believe their fake reporting is treasonous. So this seems to be a big pattern, Scott, bad reports come out in the media, and Trump reacts almost exactly like this. It's treasonous. Put the reporters in jail. Everything is going well. What do you make of it?
Well, let's just remind people for a second of this thing called the Constitution. And the Constitution, guarantees freedom of speech and a free press. In 1972, I think it was, New York Times versus the United States, the Pentagon Papers case. When gosh, I can't remember. I just had his name on the tip of my tongue. The guy who did the Pentagon Papers, Ellsberg, Daniel Ellsberg, a friend of mine, by the way. I mean, up until the time he passed away, and we were in communication up until the day of. I mean, communicating via his family. So sorry, Dan. Forgive me. I didn't forget about you. I'm talking about you right now. But that case, people should go and read the opinion written by the Supreme Court Justice, why we need a free press. And one of the key things about it was that the government can't hide behind a wall of secrets. It can't hide, failures. It can't hide lies. That's the important one. They can't hide lies. That it's a duty of a free press to uncover these lies, and the government can't, hide the lies through secrecy. That especially in the specifics of the language I might be getting off, but especially when we're talking about sending American boys overseas to die in foreign lands. Well, hell, that's exactly what's going on right now. American boys and girls are going off to die in foreign lands, and the justification for this is based on lies, straight up lies. And so now the press is doing its constitutional duty. I mean, this is why we have a free press. And the Supreme Court has put down in writing the importance of exposing the lies and breaking through the wall of secrecy. So the president is smoking dope. Richard Nixon tried to do this. It didn't work. And every president since then tried to do this thing, shut down a free press. Look, I'm a former intelligence officer. I know more than anybody the danger of, irresponsible leaking of information. So I would not support it. Give you an example. Back in the 1990s, the CIA had found out that Osama bin Laden was using a specific kind of satellite phone to communicate. This is pre 9/11. We were trying to kill him because we understood the risk that he and Al Qaeda posed. And so I forget the company, Morton Thiokol. They're based out of the LA, San Diego area, but they built a satellite that was specifically geared to intercepting that satellite phone. And it cost over $1 billion to build this thing. And we launched it. And Aviation Week in Space Technology published an article that said that on board was a classified package believed to be capable of intercepting the communications of Osama bin Laden. That satellite went silent. I mean, that phone went silent. So we had a satellite in space that wasn't collecting anything because it was specifically geared to get that so we could take that guy out. That was harmful to the national security of the United States of America. I'm not in support of leaks of that nature. Those people who gave that up, free press doesn't protect you. That is a criminal action. But if you're Daniel Ellsberg and you're sitting on the Pentagon Papers, which proves that everything the United States said about Vietnam was a lie, and that people are out there talking about Vietnam, saying things are untrue to justify continued expenditures, continued deployments, continued death, loss of life, he had he was 100% correct morally, ethically, legally, to see that this information got published. Now, he could have paid a high price. I mean, there are consequences to your actions. But the press can't be silenced. And see, the president isn't talking about just bringing the leakers to justice. Look, we have a whistleblower system that's been abused, doesn't work, but it's there. And if you're somebody who has information you believe needs to go to the press or needs to be made public, needs to be aware to Congress, you need to go through the whistleblower process. Now, if you go through the process and you get stymied, then you have no choice but to go to the press, and then you have to be willing to pay the price. Ellsberg was willing to pay the price, but because the government broke into his psychiatrist's office and stole medical information that about the counseling sessions. The judge just said, "Screw it, no, we're not going down this route." The whole thing's dismissed. But the president can't sit there and call the press treasonous. They're not treasonous. They could be irresponsible, but they're not treasonous. And especially when they're uncovering lies they're being told about a war where American service members are losing their lives.
Yeah, and the fact that the mainstream media can be wrong. I mean, it often is wrong. It could be completely making all of this up. But the way that Donald Trump himself and his handlers, I'm guessing he's not writing this all himself, from what I've heard, but the response is not convincing. It comes off as not only defensive, but also it reeks of almost boy who cried wolf. Like your reaction is showing that actually it could be the truth. It's almost like when CENTCOM has, throughout this whole war, every time Iran comes out with a report about what they did in retaliation to U.S. strikes, CENTCOM would come out as fact check. No, they didn't do that. But you do that enough without providing actual evidence that they didn't do that, people are going to start to think, well, maybe they actually did do that. And that's the thing on Trump too, and Truth Social. It's like, people are going to start to think that you saying the media is lying. People are going to look into it more and say, well, maybe they're telling the truth because what you're saying isn't convincing at all. It just comes off as temper tantrums almost. Your thoughts?
Look, Donald Trump has repeatedly, we destroyed their entire Air Force. Then why did two F-5s penetrate the air defenses and bomb Kuwait, killing Americans? What about that Air Force? We destroyed their Navy. Then why are their ships laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz, blocking it down? And the Navy isn't just ships on the, on the sea. The Iranian Navy has a whole bunch of anti-ship missiles that have shut down the Strait of Hormuz. We destroyed their army, except we didn't even come close to destroying their army. And if they ever put 1 million guys on the border with Iraq, like they did during the Iran-Iraq war, they could come punching through and take Kuwait in a matter of days. And what do we do with the 5,000 to 8,000 American troops that are still there who can't fight because they're not the combat troops? If they were, they can't fight. I mean, CENTCOM's lied the entire time. The president's lied the entire time. We haven't told the truth about anything, because to tell the truth would to acknowledge that we were woefully ill prepared for this. I mean, from top to bottom. Someday, somebody's going to write the definitive history of American targeting practices during this conflict. There's a program called Maven. Palantir and company came up with it. It was, NATO made extensive use of it in coming up with its war plan against Kaliningrad and striking Russia. It's artificial intelligence supported targeting. Well, we used Maven to develop our expanded target list in Iran, and we ended up blowing up empty buildings. We ended up murdering 168 children. We ended up, hitting, volleyball games in progress. We ended up, just committing war crime after war crime after war crime because nothing we did worked. Nothing we did worked. We didn't, when it comes down to it, the president brags about doing this and the other thing. Why is Iran producing more missiles today than they were before the war if we destroyed their missile production capacity? Why? Why is Iran doing anything today if we destroyed everything? We killed everybody. There's no leadership, but there is leadership. They have a functioning leadership. They have a functioning government. We're going to find out that we knew nothing about Iran, which begs the question, why didn't we know anything about Iran? Where was the CIA? Where was the, where's the special intelligence that comes in, the man next to the supreme leader who we've been recruiting for 20 years, who's slipping us all the papers so we know everything the supreme leader is doing. Normally, it's just the kind of intelligence you want to have if you're going to go to war. And normally we'd have, hell, when we were preparing to go to war against the Soviet Union back in the 1980s, we had a corps of foreign area officers, Soviet specialists, guys who, would take 3 to 4 years to get trained up, get advanced degrees in Russian area studies, advanced language program, cultural immersion at a Russian city that was built in Garmisch, Germany, and then deployed to various utility tours. Some included the embassy in Russia, in Moscow. Others were at the Potsdam mission, carrying out, sort of James Bond type espionage against the Soviet group of forces and other places. But we knew the enemy. We had people who actually knew the Russians and could talk about it intelligently. I worked with these guys. They were really, really good. Where's our Iran hands? No, we've populated the Iran hands with nothing but a bunch of former, Shah types, people loyal to the son of the Shah who's in exile, people who are, contaminated with the Mujahideen al-Qaeda. What we need are people who understand the Islamic Republic. What we need are people who understand the Shia faith. We need people who be able to tell the president, you don't want to assassinate the supreme leader in a land where, martyrdom is sort of the highest honor. Mr. President, let me tell you the story of Ali Hassan Hussein. Let's talk about the Battle of Karbala. Let's talk about what that means with the people. Because, when we in America talk about, Bunker Hill, or we talk about Lexington and Concord, or we talk about Gettysburg, or we talk about, any one of these defining moments, Americans are like, yes, I identify with that. That's what makes me who I am. Well, Karbala is what makes the Shia what they are, and to be dismissive of it and the concepts of martyrdom that are attached to that is just stupid in the extreme. Who advised this president? Well, the Israelis did.